Episode 33, The Bait. The base did not announce what it was doing. There were no alarms, no raised voices, no sudden urgency bleeding into the corridors. Anyone listening casually would have heard only the familiar hum of ventilation and the distant rhythm of boots on steel. But nothing about it was routine. Crates were moved without comment. Not hurried, measured. Pallets were shifted from storage to staging areas, slid across reinforced floors by hands that knew exactly where they were going. Routes that hadn't been used since the early days of the occupation were cleared and reopened, doors cycling through checks before sealing again. Systems long dormant powered up quietly, their status lights returning one by one. No one explained why. They didn't need to. This wasn't preparation for defense, it was preparation for departure. Along the perimeter walls, the gargoyles remained exactly where they had been since Everlyn's return. Motionless. Silent. Watching outward. Not inward. Soldiers passed beneath them now without hesitation. The initial unease replaced by a simpler truth. Some things were not meant to be questioned twice. The stone giants had not moved. That, more than anything, was unsettling. Everlyn walked the western edge of the base alone. She carried no weapon. She didn't need to. Her boots crunched softly against frost-bitten gravel as she moved over the wall, the wind carrying the distant sound of metal and machinery from deeper inside the compound. The mountain air was thin and sharp, empty of life, empty of movement. She stopped and looked out across the valley. There were only two ways out of it, one too narrow, one too exposed. Above her, a gargoyle stood with wings folded tight, stone gaze fixed toward the only viable route. It had not shifted since nightfall, not an inch. Everlyn didn't speak. She didn't reach out. She simply stood there long enough for intention to settle. Slowly, so slowly it could have been mistaken for settling stone, the gargoyle adjusted. Not a step. Not a gesture that could be mistaken for threat. Just a subtle redistribution of weight, its stance aligning a fraction more toward the path she'd been watching. Everlyn felt it more than she saw it. That was all the confirmation she needed. She turned and walked back inside. The briefing room was already full when she arrived. Not scheduled, not announced, just gathered. Kaelin stood at the head of the table, posture straight, hands resting flat against the metal surface. Kane leaned against the far wall, arms folded, eyes unfocused but alert. Lyra sat forward, fingers steepled, gaze fixed on the holo display. Malik occupied the shadow near the door, weight shifted back on one heel, jaw tight. No one asked where Everlyn had been. They all knew she had been gone. The door sealed behind her with a muted hiss. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the holo table refreshed. A single column of names populated the display. No ranks, no qualifiers, no explanations. Each name appeared, paused for half a second, then locked into place. Kaelin didn't comment. She didn't need to. Everyone in the room already understood what it meant to see their name, or not see it. Malik broke the silence first, voice low. "Once it's sent," he said, eyes still on the floor, "there's no calling it back." Kaelin nodded. "Correct." Lyra shifted slightly, eyes scanning the branching data feeds now unfurling from the main column. "It has to look ordinary," she said. "Too valuable and they'll scan it. Too dangerous and they'll destroy it. And if it looks useless," Kane added quietly, "they'll ignore it." Kaelin glanced at him. "So we make it worth the effort. Nothing more." Everlyn stepped forward and took her place at the table. Her eyes flicked once to the list, then away. "It will work," she said. Not reassurance, confirmation. Kaelin met her gaze. "Once the transmission goes out, they'll notice." "Yes. And once they notice, they'll act," Everlyn finished. "They always do." The silence that followed wasn't uncertainty. It was acceptance. Kaelin placed her hand over the control panel. "One chance," she said. Everlyn nodded. "Make it convincing." Kaelin hesitated, not out of doubt, but precision, then executed the command. Deep within the base, systems aligned. A signal assembled itself piece by piece, layered carefully to appear imperfect, human, sloppy in exactly the right ways, valuable enough to draw attention, ordinary enough to avoid suspicion. A message designed by people who understood predators. The transmission went out. Nothing happened. That was the hardest part. Far beyond the mountain, far beyond Earth, something adjusted its attention. A system logged the signal. Parameters shifted. A route recalculated itself by fractions too small to notice, unless you knew what to look for. Not curiosity. Recognition. The bait had been placed.